And we're live. Who wants to give a summary of the last session? Or I can if you like.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
go ahead.
Huh?
I remember that we had just taken care of all of the people that seemed to be mind controlled in the barbarian at the house that we burned down. And after doing that, we decided to check out the weird feeling that both myself and Zarius, is it Zarius?
Yeah.
Okay. Both me and Zarius were feeling. And we got to a location where we found a bunch of dryads being attacked by bog monsters that seemed to be like bog zombies of some sort. So we leapt to rescue them, and in the process, Amphilis turned on us and tried killing our once and future king, T-Hole. Meanwhile, Lucian Rossi was largely by himself, attacking a bunch of dryads on the other side of the map. After dealing with those, while we lost a couple of dryads to the bog zombies, we were able to save some of them. And we determined that the call that Lucian Rossi and Zarius were hearing was from a enchanted mace with whose name is Solastri.
Yeah.
So we, in essence, rescued it from whatever negative influence was being purported by the bog creatures and the restless undead in the area. And then after that, we had a conversation about whether or not we're going to go to the temple or to go towards the place where we believe Seamus Holbein was located. I think that was the discussion, right?
Seamus Holbein, it's you wouldn't necessarily know anymore whether to what extent Lady Amphilis' story was correct, but she had said that they had originally gone. They were checking out a few things, but they wound up going to Bogtown and passed through Bogtown, going into the swamp, probably in the direction of the temple. Then they were waylaid by Quaggoths and all captured. She then said she escaped from them, and somehow, even though the Quaggoth is much faster than her, made her way back to Alcator, the village. And that's where you found her again, in the company of a Quaggoth, although seemingly its prisoner.
Right, and so based on her rapid turn, it's likely that the Quaggoth had some influence over her. Also, we ended up losing one of the brewers, I think, maybe both.
Both of them died. The wife killed the husband. So very much like Lady Amphilis, who clearly is from Watchtower and it could only have been here a couple of days. It appears as if maybe the wife was being controlled by someone.
Mm-hmm.
And you did find a mind flayer, and they are known to control minds.
Oh yes, we did see that. It was locked in battle with the elf who was carrying Solastri.
Right. And quite dead.
Yeah. So that's a majority of what I remember.
And what you had debated at the very end was you were pretty beaten up after the battle, particularly T-Hole, who went down again. So you had decided that it would do no good to plunge into the swamp towards the temple if you were just going to be killed. So you went back to Bogtown, even though you probably were going to have to take 12 or 18 hours to rest to get another full long rest in.
Yeah.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, Lucian Rossi's not doing too hot either.
So I would say, I mean, at the end of the session, we decided you'd made your way away from the battlefield and back towards Bogtown. There are still plenty of huts to hide out in, so it shouldn't be a problem. You can assume you've all long rested. And now it's the following morning, probably just at daybreak on the following morning.
Are we rolling for health for
You can
our
just assume
next level?
max health.
No, I meant like when we leveled up.
Right. You can just assume you got max hit points.
Sweet.
Funny, Tony. All right, so we're assuming that we've completed our long rest then in Bogtown.
Yes. There is, just so you're aware, the day comes, it's pretty cloudy and overcast. There's a light rain falling. You probably wouldn't notice it much in the other half of the swamp because it's so overgrown, but in this half, you could feel it coming down, and it's especially cold to the point where the rain is beginning to sort of freeze as it hits the ground. So there's a little bit of ice.
Yeah, but it's not glass, is it?
It's not glass. Yet.
Well, then we're good. 'Cause I realized you said cold, but at first I heard gold with a G. I'm like, shit, man, what the hell? What's up with you people? What book did you read? Yeah.
Who hurt you?
All right, let me heal up and get some spell slots back then.
So what I will say is, while on the trip back to Bogtown, and especially during the time that everybody is resting and recouping from their injuries, Lucirosi seems to be pretty preoccupied with this mace, and is working to attune to it and seems to be communing with it. And it's at certain points, it seems like Lucirosi is sweating in deep concentration. And at one point, it seems like the mace is kind of vibrating and might escape his grasp, but Lucirosi is able to power through and emits sort of a radiant celestial light as finally the power struggle seems to calm down.
During the point, whenever you were talking to it, I probably would have said to the others, I think he is losing his mind. We may have to bury another soon.
Helwe seems quite fascinated, and especially after the long rest as well. He even walks over to you and says, "May I just touch it for a little bit? There's something I need to check."
Slide a nickel for every time Hellweir said that.
You're looking for lumps?
Hold on, I gotta get my food.
Well, then I snatch it while he gets his food back.
So what's everyone else doing during the long rest?
T-Hole is eyeing the chain, and he was like holding it up against himself, and he swears that he can see a reflection of himself in a puddle somewhere. So he's like trying to imagine how it looks, and he looks pleased.
Sorry about that.
He would also probably spend some time leafing through the codex.
The pages of the codex at this point are close to unreadable. Like you can make out what you think is in there from the bits that are legible, but some time spent cleaning the pages would allow you to use it as if it were part of your own spellbook.
Sometime what pages?
Sometimes spent cleaning the pages.
Okay. So he'd probably like wipe his dirty robe to try to clean, and like he'd like wet it and like lick it, then like try to clean it. So that's what he'd be doing on his long rest.
I don't care. We're gonna take it anyway.
So, in response to Hellware, Ushiroshi says, Hellware, while normally I would be inclined to allow you to touch or even handle an item that we've just found, I'm getting a strong sense from the mace that it doesn't want to be touched by you.
We will be the judge. Let me see.
I'm sorry, Hellweir. I can't. But why do you know something of this mace?
Not without closer inspection. But I did sense something.
What is it that you sensed?
Most likely elven magic.
Oh no, the magic imbued within this mace is beyond that of the elves. In fact, it seems to be a force directly associated with Acheros, to whom I have pledged my service.
You will see soon enough. And Hellway, agitated but begrudgingly, just walks away and just looks through his sack of useless shit.
There's a lot of, in addition to mud, which you're pulling out, there is a lot of this stuff's not completely useless. There's a fair bit of coin that you scooped up with it. But it's mostly a sack of just mud and like peat.
Yeah. Yeah, that was mostly the intention anyway, to pick up mostly crap.
T-Hole turns to Lushiroshi, like holding up his chain. The chain is like, "What makes you sense that this is from from Acheros?" As he like gives his most like kingly look.
There is not just power within this mace, but an ego, an identity, and it is strongly aligned with the values of Acheros. I can sense that, and it has not. It's not quite an intellect, but I can feel emotions and feelings emanating from the mace. And as I attuned to it, it tested me in my faith of Acheros to make sure that I was pure. It was troubled by some trespass that I had against Acheros back before my awakening from stone. Unfortunately, I cannot recall that time of my life. I've feared that my encasement within stone was in some way related to this trespass. And I've been working hard to understand what it is that happened in my past and to recall who I was prior to this. But it seems that the mace was able to sense this, and my resolve to seek penance.
The thing.
Willing to accept me once it could sense that.
The thing inside the Morning Star. Its name is Sigurd. It was an old
Sigurd?
king.
Sigurd. Do I know a Sigurd?
You could make either a history or knowledge or a religion check.
But I wouldn't personally know a Sigurd.
No, you wouldn't know.
Zarius would probably pipe up after hearing his recanting of what he went through here, and say that how do we know that this being inside the mace is being truthful? How do we know it is not just using you for its own goals?
I can test it. I know of a way.
It'll be a little bit before we find an elf corpse to stick it in.
It isn't an elf corpse. It is a follower of Asheros who we must stick it in.
Zarius, I have this sense, what comes from the mace, what I feel flowing into me from this object, it just feels true. I can't tell you how I know this to be, but I do.
Mortal feelings are easily fooled.
That
There are
may be.
many arcanists who are capable of fooling our senses. Toying with our likes and dislikes. Be
Well,
wary
I will-
of your use of it. If it is useful, then we will use it.
I will say that while I recognize your caution, and I will be wary of it, being pulled into deceit, I honestly do not sense any such capacity within this mace. It is, if anything, brutally honest in its convictions. I don't think it has the capacity for deceit, though it will definitely let me know if I may stray from the path of Asheros' light.
Now, can D-Hole sense anything about this mace? Like, does he get the same kind of emanations as everybody else does?
You don't really. I mean, it's obviously magical. It was glowing at one point. That stopped after about an hour, but you don't otherwise sense anything from it. You didn't sense, like, whatever it was they were feeling that was leading them towards it. You didn't feel that either. I mean, I think you were one of the ones who you did know something about the mace last time. So I did send you a lot of information about the mace at one point.
Me directly?
Yes.
Oh, let me look.
I guess it was 12:45 a.m. You made your history check, so you got a bunch of stuff. So I mean, basically, you are aware that yes, it is a very ancient weapon that was once upon a time associated with. I guess actually you did know the guy. It's not Sigurd, it's Sigurd.
Yeah, Sigurd, yeah.
Yeah, I
see
think
it here
maybe
now.
the voice I said it was different, yeah. Because I
So,
wrote down Sigurd.
I lost my notes. This is annoying.
I mean, you are aware that this particular weapon probably has been around for thousands of years rather than just hundreds of years.
So I got an email that says Soulless 3 the Morning Star. And then that hints that I got an email, but I don't see an email.
It's actually up in the chat in Roll20.
Oh, it's in Roll20. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why. I was looking through my Gmail.
But I mean, the basics of it is Sigurd was a hero who slew the first red dragon, or at least the legend is that he slew the first red dragon. Later in his life, he had a sort of falling out with the gods. When he came back, this weapon was forged as a sort of symbol of his newly reforged faith in Acheros. Now, what happened to it after Sigurd? That's sort of lost to history at this point. The elves may know.
Kurt, I know you sent me a lot of information too, but I don't remember what was just for my own personal use and what Lucia Rossi actually knew from his contact with the mace.
I don't remember that Lucia Rossi actually knew that much about it.
Yeah.
You can sense its connection to Acheros, but that's mostly because it is kind of feeding you that information. So to what extent? Maybe it is lying. Who knows? But I know that I specifically asked T-Hole, like, what would he have shared of this information that he knew, and Dustin was like, not that much.
Yeah, that sounds like T-Hole.
Yeah.
So I'm just catching up right now.
Yeah.
Threw me off that it wasn't in an email, it was in the chat.
Yeah, Hellway he's frustrated. He keeps looking back over at the mace and he's just like,
What is our next goal?
I mean, what was it about the temple that we were trying? Because it was between the temple and going to find Samus in the swamp.
What you had learned is the focus of all of the disappearances probably is the temple. Mm-hmm. So these Quaggoths, and you'd also heard that there were drow and other creatures now, including lizard men, who had been abducting the elves. They also roam through the swamps. And the center of the focus of their activity seems to be around that temple.
So I think Lucia Rossi would have argued to head to the temple then, because while Alkitor is currently destroyed from what it was, and many have either fled or captured or been killed, if there are any survivors, they may be found at the temple. And if we can deal with this problem, it would allow Alkitor to, with time, recover.
You would also know that it makes sense that Lady Amphilis probably was at some point traveling with Holbein. So he may be captured as well.
Then let us depart.
I'd say it makes sense. Teal looks at the mace and he looks to Lucia Rossi. He's like, "You best be careful with that thing. That's older than me, and I'm old."
I shall do. I will ensure that I am careful with it, but I will also make sure that I put it to good use.
In fact, it's far older. Well, if you ever get tired for it, I think it would make a good emperorish weapon.
I will keep that in mind, T-Hole.
Yes. I could also find good use for that weapon. just like we should destroy it.
Oh, I don't think you could destroy this.
We will find
This
a
is
way.
beyond your power, Helweir. As powerful as you are.
Let me test it.
I can test it against your skull.
I think
You
it'd
have a hard
rather
head, don't you, Helweir?
it would rather be tested against a follower of Asheros.
Ah, Helweir, this object here, this mace was forged in the fires of the sun. Only in the sun could it be unmade. Unless you are willing to go to the sun, I think you are on a fool's errand.
Sounds like a fool's tale. Let us move. Have a task at hand.
I agree. We are wasting time. Every minute that passes is a minute that we may be too late to save one of the souls that may be trapped at the temple.
Who's our ranger again?
That's me, yeah. I finished looking through the muck and grab pretty much anything of worth and just leave the rest of the shit there and just keep walking.
Okay. So you proceed to head to the northwest. You don't know exactly where this temple is in the swamp. All you really know is that it's off to the northwest of you. Although I will say, Helweir, what are your favorite enemies?
Elves and Goliaths.
Of course, you would be proficient in fighting your own kind.
So, trying to sense right now, you would not get, in Bogtown, you would not have any sense of there being any elves within, or Goliath, within 5 miles of you. But you may be able to do that periodically. And maybe if there are any elves alive from Alcator, you might be able to sense where they are using that ranger ability. So you set forth into the saltwater portion of the swamp very quickly. Again, the canopy of trees over the top of you gets very thick to the point where there's very little light reaching the ground. I know Goliath. I don't think Dragonborn or Goliath have dark vision.
No.
So you'll probably want a light source.
Yeah, probably light a torch or something.
I will find a stone and cast light upon it and toss it to Helweir.
Oh, actually, you know what? What I probably would have done, since I had spell slots last night, I'd have taken one of our torches and cast continual flame on it.
Ooh. I don't think I've ever seen that spell actually used before.
Yeah.
I got it prepared.
It costs like 50 gold or something to cast it. So.
Indeed. Ruby dust worth 50 gold. Yeah, indeed.
That it consumes.
I'll just continue to be broke. Such is the way of a man of the cloth.
So you now have this the ever burning torch with you. So as you're proceeding through the swamp, once again there's a lot more muck and grime in this portion of the swamp. The water is incredibly salty. At one point, as you travel about a mile out from where you were, Helweir suddenly gets the sense that there are elves about 5 miles away to the northwest.
I would just go in that direction.
I
wouldn't tell anyone. I'd just do it.
So, in order to avoid having to swim through the freezing cold water, you're forced to sort of travel around a lot, reaching dead ends and then backtracking to try to find relatively dry paths through this. So it's incredibly slow going. But after about 2 hours of traveling, you hear a noise and turn around and see one of the dryads you had saved appears coming out of the trunk of one of the blackened trees of the swamp. Greetings to you.
Ah,
She's a little startled at your being startled.
from how you came to this tree from the tree over yonder.
This is
What
the
the
way
hell did
we
you just say?
the way we travel is we travel from tree to tree. I've just come to tell you to hold here for a little while. Ahead of you there is a group of those white furred creatures. We have been working to clear a path for you to keep some of the animals out of your way and the shambling mounds. But we believe that they will be chased off by a shambling mound if you can just wait about half an hour at most.
Will you keep us company?
Well, I need to go and continue to shepherd the shambling mounds to safety.
Well, all right.
There
I
aren't
guess we
just
can wait.
there aren't just Quagoths over there. You know that, right, Dryad?
I know many things. What are you looking for?
There are
We
people.
we
there.
have heard tales of your dwarf. As you suspected, he has gone into the temple. He was taken prisoner by some of the Quagoths and the Drow.
This is both unfortunate and fortuitous, then, that we are on the right path to seek Samus. Hopefully we can get to him in time, but if there are Quagoth in the way, one part of me wishes to vanquish these creatures so that there may be fewer at the temple, but at the same time I'm wary because we do not know how many of them there may be, and we may need to save our resources and strength for the temple.
Is
You
there not
shouldn't-
another path that would be quicker?
There are many paths through the swamps. You certainly could find a longer way around rather than traveling directly ahead.
Listen to your wise emperor when I say it would be better to wait a half an hour than try to do anything else.
Yes, we do not want to also allow any of the Quagoth to realize that we are here and travel back to warn the rest of their ilk.
I will come back then and let you know when the path forward is safe. And she steps back into the trunk of a tree and seems to merge with it and disappears. After about 20 minutes, she comes back and says, the Quagoths have been killed by the shambling mounds. The shambling mounds have begun to move off to the southeast, so I believe you should be okay to travel forward again.
What's a shambling mound? Do I know that?
I would say you in particular probably do. That it's essentially a semi-sentient, like animal intelligence level giant plant that can walk. But it's several hundred pounds of carnivorous walking plant.
Oh, okay. Nice.
No big deal.
Lovely.
So you proceed forward again. After
Yes.
many, many more hours of traveling, you do finally reach what appears to be an enormous ziggurat. Let me find it.
I love that word, ziggurat.
And everybody make me an intelligence save.
Intelligence save.
Yes.
We know what they are.
So, T-Hole, your experience is very different than everyone else, but everyone except T-Hole, you begin to feel as you sort of penetrate deeper and deeper into this marsh, the smell of saltwater and decay is clinging to you, and there's seems to be absolutely no other sound at all in the swamp. The canopy that occasionally showed small gaps of the sky above is now at this point so dense and twisted that it's blocking out all light. And there's a mist arising from the ground that just annoyingly obscures every step you take into the bog water. There are eerie green lights that do sort of appear that vaguely light your way, but for the most part, it's just utter darkness and mud traps that Hellweir has to lead you around. You can feel the air pressing in, and everybody except for T-Hole begins to feel as if you're being watched. Lucia Rossi.
One thing. I'm sorry. One thing I want to say. Anybody that was within 10 feet of me gets a +3 to their saving throw.
Okay.
So you feel, Lucia Rossi feels, Solasri is trying to reassure you that sense of being watched and the sense that there are enemies around you is not real, that it's some sort of illusion. But T-Hole, all you notice about it is that everybody else seems to be feeling tense. You don't feel the tension at all. You don't feel any of this.
That sounds like T-Hole. It's just like walking gaily through the bog water.
So while I do trust Solasri, it's still a relatively new relationship, and so it's hard for me to distrust my own senses, despite the musings of a mace, intelligent as it may be. And so Lucia Rossi will notice T-Hole's complete lack of care and try to scold him and say, T-Hole, be careful. There are creatures about. There's something here.
And then T-Hole says, don't be silly. We're totally fine. And then he touches his crown.
Quiet.
And he casts light when he touches his crown, so his crown lights up. We're totally fine.
Asteros.
What are you doing? You will make us visible in this place.
I don't know what you're talking about. We're just fine. This place seems like every other part of the swamp.
So the ziggurat itself is immense. You can't even with the light of from the crown and from the ever-burning torch, you're essentially looking at a corner of it, and you can't see any of the other corners. They just disappear into the darkness. It looks to be ancient. The stone is incredibly weathered. It's 3 levels. Each level is about 15 feet tall. But the entire structure is slanted pretty heavily. It's sinking into the swamp, basically at the corner that you're looking at. Water is completely pooled around it, and so you probably will have to either leap over or swim through a bit of water even to get to the top of the corner you're looking at. You see on the second and third levels, the topmost level and the level right below it, there are 2 doorways that lead in. This is all on the south face of it.
I'm curious, did we walk past where the Quagoths were fighting? Where the Shambling Mounds killed the Quagoths?
If you did, you didn't notice it, but it would have been in water for the most part.
Okay. Gotcha.
And they might have simply scared the Quagoths off rather than killed them.
Yeah. And is my elf spidey sense going off still?
You feel certain that there are elves inside this building.
So Lucia Rossi will turn to his companions and say, so what do we feel is the best approach here?
There is only one way. We must swim.
If only I prepared water walking.
You realize that many of us are wearing very heavy armor that would be detrimental should we have to swim.
Are there any like tall trees? Like we're surrounded by trees, right?
Right. There are a lot of tall trees.
Do any trees look like they are dead?
It's a little hard to say. A lot of the trees look like they're probably dead, but they're here, so they're standing. You're not exactly sure, particularly it being close to winter, that whether they're alive or dormant at this point.
T-Hole, he pipes up. You know, we could cut a tree down and then throw it across as a bridge.
That would be one route.
Maybe
Do
you
we
should
see any
ask your
trees?
mace.
What?
Ask your mace.
Yeah, maybe we could put that lazy mace to work.
Or your
We've been
god.
doing it this whole time. The least you could do is chop a tree or two down for us so we can cross this water.
Or ask your sun god to dry up the lake.
Asheros helps those that help themselves.
That sounds like laziness to me.
What a weak god.
But
Quiet your mouth, Hellweir. You are coming dangerously close to crossing a line there.
yes, remember who holds the mace, however.
I want to hear that you're going to chop a tree down with a mace.
Hellweir, are you not the one with the axe?
Yes. But there must be
What did
another
it-
way. I will not blunten my axes.
I'll do it.
Well, we're.
And I was told out of hand. Speaking of being lazy,
Well,
Come on,
if need be,
Hellweir,
if
we don't
there's-
have all day. You said to yourself, Lucio, see, there's people inside waiting. You didn't want to wait 30 minutes to let the Quaggoth go through. And that here we're wasting time in front of the moat. Well, nobody will either take a mace or an axe into the tree.
A mace is not the proper weapon for this, and if Hellweir refuses to use his axe for the purpose with which it is first designed, then I can carry us across with my ability to fly. Although
I could
that
carry
is
one of
something I
you.
can only use temporarily.
Also, these aren't woodcutting axes. They're ceremonial. Look. And I show the I point at the patterns on the axe.
whenever I grab it, start moving.
Leave it to a Goliath to go into battle with ceremonial axes.
Yes. They are made to cut off the heads of the ones I do not like.
How do you feel about trees?
I like trees.
That just sounds like laziness, Hellweir. Get to it.
We're wasting
So-
time. If Hellweir will not cut down the tree, then I will carry us across. I can only carry one at a time, however.
I begrudgingly walk over to the tree and maybe test my axe on it to see if it'll go blunt, and then if it doesn't, well then I'll just keep going. I'll chop the tree down.
Okay,
So you
so
do two of them, yeah? I'll help.
so make me an athletics check with advantage since you're getting help.
Bang.
Okay, you are able to get to find a tree that you can chop down essentially in less than a minute. You're able to fell this tree.
That's just long as we can cross it.
And it doesn't even splash down into the water. It is resting now between the ground and the second level of this ziggurat.
All right.
Perfect.
Now we just have to make dex rolls. I walk with a limp.
I mean, I would say you could probably. It's not that difficult to make it across the fallen tree, so you don't have to make dex rolls or fall into the water.
Okay.
Does anybody suddenly get the image of Data's slick shoes in Goonies?
So there are two entrances to this ziggurat that you can see. One on the top level and one on the second level.
Which shall we go through? Shall we go through the one close to us, or shall we struggle to climb up to that other opening?
How tall is like the next level?
It's 15 feet above the level that you're on. Everything's, again, at a pretty steep angle as this pyramid is sinking into the swamp. But there are stairs to get up to the top level from where you are.
You said there was a picture of it?
No, I don't have a picture of the
okay.
entrances.
What do we know about this place?
What they would have found out is that many centuries ago, there was a kind of an offshoot of the Elves of Alcator who moved north, who were essentially kicked out because they were worshiping the wrong god. And the two elves who ran Alcator didn't like that. So they set up a temple here that was later wiped out by the Elves of Alcator. And for some reason, at some point after that, the swamp seems to have formed around where their settlement was. This temple is just the last thing that remains of the elves' former settlement.
But it's cursed.
My experience tells me that vileness and evil will sink to the bottom. Might as well go through the lower door.
But we might be able to go, if we come from the top, we might be able to leap down and take the high ground.
Now, is there any would T-Hole possibly know anything about when elves have religious, like the religion of elves, and like how they lay out their temples? Like if there's a specific formula, like if they believe in this god, then they have to like have their windows open to the east or something along that line.
Give me a religion check.
Actually, could I do the same thing?
Yeah, anyone who wants to can. You would know something about the elven religion, but what you would know is elves don't tend to use temples. They tend to worship outside. You've certainly never heard of elves who had a ziggurat. Helwyr, you actually kind of remember vaguely when the temple was built from your interaction with Triandal, but
yeah.
You also are unaware of elves building ziggurats except for this one. So you also know that they were worshiping Moraine, which is also very unusual for elves. They almost exclusively either worship no particular god and instead only worship spirits, or sometimes they also revere Melora, the goddess Melora. So this was clearly an odd offshoot of the elves to worship Moraine at all. And Triandal in particular was maybe not as outraged as his religious brother was, but it is highly unusual for these elves to have worshipped Moraine. I mean, you could tell from the general layout of the ziggurat that the main entrance to the temple was probably the top one, as the stairwells lead directly to it.
Yeah. I think we should go up top. You know, walk in through the front door. I don't see why we should. I don't see a particular reason to go in through the bottom, but
Does the one on the bottom seem to be like an actual entrance that was made purposefully, or is it like a hole in the wall?
Both of these appear to be purposefully built entrances.
Okay.
The lower one is just significantly smaller.
Are we able to determine any one that is used more frequently, perhaps?
Yeah, are there any like Quagoth tracks which like show that they go through the front door, or
Give me investigation checks.
While they're doing that, I might actually just have Lucirosi. Wait a minute, I have to see that check.
We're so good at this.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
can I use survival?
You don't see any signs in the stone of which ones were being used.
Good thing T-Hole has a constant advantage on his investigation checks.
Hey,
Oh, I forgot about that, actually. T-Hole, you would have realized in looking around, everyone else is looking at the wrong things because they're staring at the ground right around where these two doorways are. You're the one who realizes that if the Quaggoths were using this entrance, then the stupid Quaggoths would have to be swimming through this mucky, freezing cold water every time they left. So they're probably not using either of these entrances.
yeah. So I share that information with the party.
And you've only seen the one, like basically you've seen the one front southern facing surface of the cigarette. It's big enough that there could be other entrances on other sides.
Mm-hmm. So what I'll do, Lucirosi will kind of keep his back to the wall, sidle up to the entrance that's close, and just try to peer like around and see if he can see anything.
Looking in, you can see there's a square room inside. There seems to be a hallway that goes a fair distance into the stone structure. The stones appear to be very large and very heavy. It's interesting to even ponder how they built something this large with stones this large. It clearly had to have magic involved in it. At the end, you see what appears to be a stairwell that leads down.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I'll let everybody else know this entrance is clear, but it seems to lead down into lower levels, maybe below ground.
would we?
Well, if the Quaggoth are swimming, or are not swimming to get into at least these entrances, then it would make sense that they have some sort of tunnel. So the further down we go, we might run into more of those wild creatures.
So T-Hole, do you let us know that the Quaggoth aren't using either of these entrances?
Yeah, I shared that with you. I would have shared that with you guys.
Okay. So if they're not using these entrances, then it might be best if we enter through them, because they may not necessarily be expecting it. If these entrances are seldom used, it could provide at least a minor advantage as we search through this temple.
Helwer, you were saying of something of great wisdom. What was it?
If downstairs, would that be covered in bog?
Likely to be filled with whatever the Quaggoth have gathered.
You would also remember from Illich's story that Illich talked about an arched entrance where his friend went through and then disappeared and he never saw him again. It sounds, at least it could have described either one of these two entryways that you see. And he then said search parties went in looking for his missing friend, and those people ran out screaming, running off into the bog.
I'm gonna. Is there like a rock somewhere?
You could find an old, like essentially a piece of the temple that's broken off.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a piece and just kind of toss it through the lower level hole.
Like I said, there's a tunnel that goes in quite a way. At about 60 feet in, there's a stairwell that goes down.
Okay. Yeah, I'll throw it down the hallway then.
You hear it.
Any traps?
Yeah, you hear it clattering in. It doesn't set off any traps.
Okay. Just stand back. If there's anything down there, they might come up and investigate.
I'd like to cast Detect Magic to see if I, see what I can see.
What's the range on Detect Magic? Oh, it's like 1 foot of stone blocks it, I think.
Yeah.
You sense the presence of magic within 30 feet of you.
You do. I mean, the whole area kind of radiates magic. This time you sense, in addition to the weird sort of enchantment that you sensed around the Tor, although at lesser levels, you also sense there's a lot of necromantic magic, but it's not necessarily coming from any particular place. It seems to be suffusing the entire area around you.
Hmm. Damn necromancers. This place reeks of it. Well, I suppose we shouldn't dally anymore at the entrance. Are we going to pick one?
I say we just go in through this one and see where it leads.
T-Hole just marches forward.
Yeah.
He's
So we would be very close behind.
fairly impatient at this point.
Perhaps you should not be up front.
Yes, let somebody who can see in the dark guide our path.
I can see in the dark. Well, I have my lighted crown.
Also, the flame.
T-Hole. Yes, perhaps we should not give ourselves away if we can avoid it.
Fine, I'll go second.
Well, Luciaroshi's long learned not to argue too greatly with his companions. It just leads to further lunacy.
So who is going first?
Hellway
Luciaroshi's fine
points.
with going.
There's a hallway down there we must argue in.
Whoever is the most heavily armed and armored, I think.
Yeah, between Luciarosi and Hellware, I would say Luciarosi simply for the fact that I have dark vision.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Although it doesn't seem to matter since T-Hole's got a shining crown.
That just extends the range, right?
So you enter through this archway. You see along the walls as you go, there are engravings of what appears to be the god Moraine, but he's unusually presented as a bald elf with a beard. Elves generally can't grow beards. His beard happens to be separated into distinct, almost dwarven style braids, which elves and dwarves not getting along is also unusual. He seems to be presenting a rectangular object to the elves that the elves are worshiping even when he's not around. Eventually, at the end of the hallway, you see there's a spiral staircase that goes down into the darkness. And everybody make me a perception check.
Oh, come on.
Oh, man.
I'm going to give T-Hole advantage on this one. T-Hole, you notice that some, not all, but some of the depictions of Moraine Look like you. Like with like a different beard and like with pointed ears, but very similar to you.
These elves had good taste. Now it does. Like what gives it away is like it's the facial features.
Yeah, like the face could be your face, and all they really had to do was change the. I don't know if you have a beard.
I do have a beard, according to my.
Change your beard style and make your ears pointed.
Good taste. How do you know what their diet was?
Well, I don't know that much about them. Although this fellow looks a lot like me.
This may be the first real god I have ever seen.
I don't see it.
He is right there.
Leave it to T-Hole to see himself in the images of a god.
Do any of the does like the rectangular object look, does it like tickle a memory, or does it seem familiar?
A lot of the detail seems to have been lost over time, so it's very difficult to figure out what it is. It could be just either like a box or a very thick book or something else.
I wish I remembered this scene a little better. It's been so long. This is odd. I don't recall this this beard style, but this is troubling.
Well, let's not get lost in the details. Once we find the prisoners and hopefully Samus, we can have all the time we need to examine these pictographs. And then Lucirosi will start leading the way down the stairs.
So heading down the stairs, you descend about 30 feet, little bit less, maybe 25 feet. When you come upon a stone door that's closed and seems as if it's sealed and locked.
Doesn't seem to be any way of opening it, potentially.
There is a locking mechanism. I mean, you could basically try to break through the door. It's stone. It may take a while. You could try to pick the lock if anybody has that ability.
I do have thieves' tools and proficiency with them. So which would you want? Dexterity, intelligence?
It would be dexterity, this one.
$20.
And make me...
So that's plus proficiency is 15. Dexterity is -1, so 14 total.
Okay, and then make me an insight check while you do it. Or investigation check, I mean. Okay. You don't manage to open the lock, but as you do it, there is a very brief flash. And let me just find it. Make sure. Make me a wisdom save. No, I'm sorry. Make me an intelligence save.
Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to use my one action point.
Okay, for a second, that feeling that's still persisting that people are watching you started to get overwhelming. but you're able to push it off in part because Salasri is still telling you that no, this is just an illusion. It's all in your head. Nobody's watching you.
Little do you know, Salasri is also in your head.
And is certainly watching me.
But the door is still locked.
So I can't open this door.
Yeah, you can continue to try. There's no reason you can't. It's just taking time.
So I'll turn to the group. Should we persist in trying opening this door, or shall we find another way?
Beat it with your mace.
Yes, let's give our position away by echoing, pounding sounds through these halls.
They would already know we're here. It does not matter.
Actually, is there any way how to try to sense? I know these are stone. This is a stone door, but is there a big enough crack between to sort of see beyond, or if there's any lights from beyond, or if we can hear any sounds?
You could look through the keyhole, I guess. You get a very limited view, but it's because it's a stone door, it's not exactly well seated on its hinges with a gap underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see, there does seem to be a very dim light coming from the other side, but it looks like it's a small glowing light that's set into the wall in the hallway on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that much detail, although you do see there's something that's sort of scattered along the floor, maybe debris or something like that. But it's clearly very dimly lit beyond this door.
All right. So I'll turn to everybody and ask, shall I try again, or shall we find another way?
Is T-hole cast detect magic, right? Is that still going? You concentrate on it for 10 minutes, so.
That's true. You could still have it going.
Yeah, I didn't really do anything, so I would have kept it going.
Then you would sense once you got down the stairwell a bit, there is something magical about this door.
There's
enchantment magic coming from the door itself.
Okay. I tell Zarius, looks like there's this is an enchantment magic door.
There you go. Cast Dispel Magic on it.
I don't have Dispel Magic. I can only tell that it's magic.
I have it, so
okay.
I cast it.
Okay. You get the sense that the magic is probably not completely gone, but whatever was on it is now suppressed for a while.
So I guess I'll take a cue from the investment being put into the store that we should try again. All right, so so that's a 20 total for my door picking, lock picking.
So you feel it's not exactly tumblers, but there's some mechanism inside that you have to manipulate, and you feel the lock click open. And the door, you hear a slow grinding as the door begins to move a little bit.
All right. So I will draw Solasri and motion to everybody to be quiet as I slowly and as quietly as possible push the door open just enough to be able to see beyond it.
Okay.
What should we do with the flame?
Not much that can be done, I suppose.
Not giving you away any more than the crown.
Yeah.
And the light stone, if we've still got
Well,
that.
actually, if I had detect magic, the crown probably would have. Is light is
No.
light?
Light is not
Oh, it's-
concentration.
Okay,
Starts
cool.
for an hour.
Yeah,
Oh,
never
cool.
mind.
Now we got spoopy music.
So in
Oh,
front of
that's
you,
cool.
in front of you, you see there is a hallway. There are bones of at least 4, maybe 5 separate individuals that seem to be strewn across the ground about 15 or 20 feet in front of you. The remains look like they're pretty old, maybe months old. On the walls, written in dried blood, you see there's something written in what is probably Elvish. Does anybody speak Elvish?
Yeah, I do.
What's written in on the walls is, "You are my first 4. My own one shall have thousands."
There's my own one again.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I read it out loud.
Embedded in the walls, you also see that there are sporadically flickering stones. They're kind of erratically glowing an amber color, which are the lights that you saw looking through the keyhole.
Now, Hellweird, do you tell us what those words say?
Yeah, I read it aloud. Yeah.
Okay.
You
Does
see
anybody
that
else find it suspicious that there are 4 of us?
What do
Well,
you mean?
They know that we're here. We've been watched since the swamp.
They knew well enough to write this in advance and knew exactly which way we would come in. That doesn't disturb you in the slightest.
We weren't exactly quiet.
Can you put the thing in the chat? That saying.
Yep. Put it into roll 20. You also see that
So
about 10 feet ahead of you, now that the door is open, off to your, I guess, left side, there is a gap in the wall that at first looks like it's another hallway. But on closer inspection, now that there's a good light on it from the crown and from the torch, the sides of it are uneven, almost, and there's deep gouges in it, almost like something clawed this hole open.
So I'm going to carefully move forward. Do I see this thing?
Which thing? Yeah, that is one of the amber-colored glowing lights that's flickering.
Okay. So I will approach this weird hallway and kind of
As he opens the door, I'll use my eyes of the grave to be able to detect any undead, since there's a bunch of skeletons there.
You're not detecting any undead.
Okay.
So I motion for the others to come forward, and then I ask, should we go down this weird hallway, or should we continue forward?
The writing, I'm guessing, is on the long wall. Yeah.
Yeah, the writing is here.
Yep, I see. Yep.
Leave it to T-Hole to just push forward.
Well,
He's the front man. What are you talking about?
He's so anxious to try out his new armor.
Yeah, he's lost the most hit points, so he's obviously the tank.
I wasn't sure if I couldn't see, because I saw a little light. I wasn't sure if it was roll 20 freezing or what was going on. So I was trying to move
my
my finger
vision's
around.
impaired as well. I think it's just because we don't have dark vision.
Yeah, but
Oh,
I
there we go. Look at
have
lights.
a lighted crown, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's because all I have to do is I'll drag torches in
Oh, cool.
so people can see.
All right. So shall we go down this weird tunnel or continue forward?
Yes, let's continue forward.
yeah, let's go forward.
So when you get to there, Hellweird, everybody make a perception check. Stop where you are.
perceptive.
So Keyhole
Sense
and
for Hellware.
Lucerosi, you hear the sound of what almost sounds like a dog, like little claws running along the stone.
From what direction? Can we tell?
Coming from there's a lot of echoing in this hallway, but it seems to be coming from the direction you're going.
Okay.
T-Hole like puts his hand out and then like silences. And then he like turns to the companion and is like,
Elway just looks at you, frustrated. He's like, "What are we being quiet for? I do not hear anything."
Roll initiative.
Christ.
Oh, yeah, intellect of our lovely
Oh shit! I didn't click on my thing. Hang on. Let's go again.
initiative.
There we go. I'll take that because I got advantage anyway. So
Holy shit. I got a 0 initiative. How do I consistently
you always roll so bad.
terribly for initiative? I roll great when it comes to the attacks. I've critted so much, but then roll 1 initiative roll.
son, you lack initiative. I think there's just no way around it.
You need to get that meme, son. I am disappointed.
So Hellware, you don't even know that they're there, but at least you get to go first. So essentially, you are surprised. You don't get to take any actions this turn.
Okay. Yeah.
From around the corner, you see what looks to be a brain on legs come running up to you.
Oh boy.
Turn this thing. I'll show you what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's a cool intellect devourer.
Yeah,
It
that's
is-
an even grosser one.
It is tiny. It is about the size of just a humanoid brain. So it's like a small dog. But it runs up to you and I guess first it will try to devour your mind.
Yeah, sure.
So it jumps onto my head, like.
No, it just runs. It just runs close to you. Now make an intelligence save.
Oh yeah, it's all over now, guys. Oh no, it's not.
So you can feel some pressure trying to invade your mind, but you're able to resist it. It also, however, claws at you.
Well. Is it a 17 to hit? And it hits. Yeah.
It's a 17 to hit. Yes.
Yeah,
Why-
yeah, that hits.
Why are
Do,
you? a friend?
Do any of us see this thing? from our
Yeah.
position?
You can all see it.
Can we make a check to see if we know what this thing is, or is that unlikely?
No, there's some history of things like this, so you can make a history check.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think I'd know.
Keyhole, you would know for certain that these are highly associated with mind flayers. They are almost like they're not that mind flayers have pets, but they do have servants, and these are kind of very minor servants that mind flayers like to have around. They're highly psychic. They can, if they can destroy your brain with their psychic attack, they can teleport into your head and use your body like a puppet.
That would be an interesting explanation for Amphilis and Miss Brewer.
I communicate that information. I say, mind flayer scum. I think we have a bigger problem on our hands to deal with.
So Keyhole's turn.
D-Hole irrationally hates mind flayers.
Of course, of all the things to hate irrationally, mind flayers are at the top of that list.
You would also know that mind flayers have more than one time threatened the Empire, so it makes
Yeah.
sense that you would hate them.
Yes. He just like disgust with him. So he's going to strike a magic missile at this brain spawn. And I'm going to cast it at level 2.
Okay, describe your magic missiles as they shoot out.
So they come, the magic missiles come out as like kind of blue spears, and they penetrate into the brain. And they go, there's 3 of them. So, and like they're kind of like poke, like spearing into the brain magically.
So the thing goes skittering back a bit, clearly impacted very hard by these 3 separate spheres of energy that hit it. You can tell you did a substantial amount of damage to it, but it begins to shake almost like a dog shaking water off its back, and it bears down, looking still pointed in the direction of your group.
Cool. I am going to move slightly back a bit. Just so I'm not in the way.
Of course.
That's my turn.
You have the best intelligence save. Of course, you need to be as far away from these as possible. Darius.
Yeah. I'll take 1 step forward. Then I'm going to cast Toll the Dead on the creature. Wow, that was such shitty damage. All right.
Isn't that like a loud bell noise? It's just echoing through the hall now.
It's only locally perceptible.
Oh, good shit.
So you hear there is the bell tolls in the hallway, and the thing falls to the ground, motionless.
There.
But everybody make me another perception check.
Oh, finally, I can see.
So Zarius, Helwir, and T-Hole, you can still hear more sound of skittering claws on the stonework. Although now you hear it coming from that hallway behind you as well as in front of you.
Oh, lovely.
So Lucharosa, your turn. But you don't hear anything.
Right. So, in response to what has been going on, I will move forward. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From my position here, do I see anything?
I think so. Yeah, you can see the light from the torches isn't reaching around the corner, obviously, but you can see there is another one of those things in the darkness in the hallway here.
Okay. So I've done my move action. Can I ready my attack action for when it comes at me? Within
Sure.
striking distance?
Sure.
All right.
Helwir.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same. I'm just gonna ready my 2-hand sword.
Okay. And it does come running forward. So you can
Sure.
attack. Well, it's not within 5 feet of you. It's going after Lucirosi.
Oh, okay.
So, first attack is Solastri.
Well, that's a hit.
Yeah, yes,
Oh, it's a
critical
crit.
makes up for my critical failed, whatever it is.
Initiative.
So, yeah, and then it also gets that fairy fire effect on it.
It made it
Potentially.
save them.
All right. So, did it survive that initial hit?
It did.
Okay.
Although it's clearly half dead at this point, or more than half dead.
Then I will use my bonus action to follow up with. Let's go with thoughts.
And with thoughts, you are able to kill it.
All right. So I bring Solastri down upon his head, and then I follow up with a quick.
So this thing
Hammer
comes
fist.
running forward. You bring the Morning Star directly down on top of it, and there is a flash. And when you bring it up, you see that it is surrounded by little glowing lights. And then you come forward and just punch it, smashing it into goo.
Yes.
Nice one, Lucirosi.
Thank you.
It is not the last one.
And then running out from the hallway behind you and towards the first person it sees.
Like I said,
Keyhole, make me an intelligence save. So you also feel something trying to invade your mind, and then turn around and see behind you there's this third brain on legs, but it reaches out and claws at you.
It hits.
That's your turn.
All right. I'm going to cast Burning Hands on the this piece of shit. So,
Is that a dex save?
yes.
Damage.
So you make it. So you take 4.
So you see there's smoke rising off of this brain creature, but it manages to avoid the worst of the blast.
Probably gonna. I guess that's gonna be my turn.
Okay. Zarius.
alrighty. I'm probably gonna do the same thing on that guy. So I'll turn around, scooch one, so I could see him better, and then Tola did. This time for a lot better damage. Wisdom save, DC 15. Yeah.
Failed.
Swig.
Oh, the damage was 15 too?
Yeah, the damage was 15, yeah.
Okay. With a little bit of singeing that it took, it is clearly now very close to dead, but still moving.
That bastard. I don't think I have any good bonus action things. No.
Lucirosi.
Okay. Do I see any more of these things coming from my immediate vicinity?
No, there's none you can see.
So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can run back. Right there. Right. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah. And then I will attack with Solosri.
And you hit it. It is lifted off of its feet and slams into the wall and dies.
By Asheros, what are these things? Creatures that are brains that walk? Never
These
heard
are-
of such a thing.
These are mind flare spawns. Ugh, these things disgust me, and I kick it.
So you kick it, because it's dead and now mostly brain. You basically splatter it more along the floor.
See, they're just gross looking at them.
Brains are just basically meat jello.
Sure. Why not?
So it's likely that the damn mind flare knows we're here now. Just great. Well, he knows that you guys are here. And he probably knows that I'm here, but he doesn't know who I am or what I am.
Yeah, I don't think we set off any traps or did anything to make our presence known.
You
outside
don't
of-
need mind flares aren't fooled by that. Mind flares are smarter than that. They don't need traps to know who people are.
Well, in this case, if it knows we are here, we should find the most direct route to Zemus and the others and try to get them out as quickly as possible.
Would we know of the Mind Flayer's ability for psionic scrying?
Give me a history check.
Sure, I'll try that. History. Hey, look at that.
So, I mean, you would be aware mind flayers are hyper intelligent. So they generally do try to keep abreast of everything that's going on around them. So you would imagine from their history that that these sentries in particular, these intellect devourers, probably would have some way of communicating back to him when they sense prey in the temple.
Oh, right, because intellect devourers are able to detect intelligence. Yeah.
And they're telepathic.
Yeah.
Now, were any of the devourers trying to communicate?
Not with you. Not that you could tell, other than trying to eat your and Helwyr's brains.
Okay.
We must not dawdle. We need to keep moving. If they know we're here, they are likely to send more forces. So which way shall we go?
Yeah, Helwe looks back and he says, if it wasn't for these traitorous elves, we wouldn't be here.
Darius, make me an intelligence save.
Okay.
Well, you got a +3 because I'm near you.
Cool. Oh, look at that
Not
shit.
You need it.
Whoa,
Oh, man.
wait. 2 crits?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Gotta look at the algorithm.
you're fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Okay. What did I sense? Did I sense anything? What the hell was that?
You, for a second, you felt as if some level of panic was rising in you, but then you realized that you see nothing. There's nothing of particular note in this hallway. You do see that there is, at the far end, you can see there is a body is laying on the floor. Let me move the torches again. Put it there.
Over here.
Over here, yeah, there's a body laying on the floor. The wall in front of you appears to be covered with more stone-carved reliefs. There seems to be almost, it's probably 50 or 60 feet of these reliefs all carved along the wall that seem to tell the tale of the elves who built this temple. But the story appears to be fairly intricate. You'd have to take a little bit of time to kind of taken the whole length of the wall. There are 2 doors in this hallway that you can see. There may be a door over near that body laying on the ground. One door off to your right and one door off to your left appear to be stone doors similar to the one you already made it through. The one in front of where Hellweir is, and Hellweir can also give me an intelligence save. It has gaps in it that make it look like a cell door.
I
Uh,
think even
13.
with
plus
plus
2 or
3, it's
something,
not going to help.
You're fine, actually.
Oh, cool.
Oh. So,
The only one who doesn't actually, Lucia Rossi should also make an intelligence save. The only one who doesn't have to is T-Hole. But you see, like, that light you've cast on your crown glows a little bit brighter when you step into this hallway. You're fine too.
all right.
Oh,
So
so I have
I'm
to
going to probably move forwards, like carefully towards this body.
Right. While you pass through by the cell door, you see that there seems to be a figure seated inside it
Where's the cell door?
here.
There's
There's
a
a
figure.
person inside.
Yep.
Can I see?
Looking through, you see what looks to be an extremely old elf. He is seated in what looks like a ring of writing written around him, probably maybe in blood. It's hard to tell in black and white. Shining the torch up, you can see it is red,
Okay.
so it's
Yeah.
probably blood.
I don't have dark vision, so yeah, it would have to be with the torch.
With this guy, is he clearly dead?
He is clearly dead, and there's more elven writing on the wall in front of him. It looks as if somebody first reached in through his chest and pulled the heart out under his rib cage and sort of left it mostly attached, but it's now kind of rotted away. Someone then smashed his head into the wall repeatedly to kill him.
Jesus. Or I'm sorry, Asherus. Can I see if this person might be an elf or half elf of some sort?
You're certain looking at him that he was a full elf.
Okay. I'll quickly just check his belongings to see if he has any significance, maybe any keys or anything that might indicate what's going on.
Does he still have his ears?
He does, although they're mostly this body's been here for a while, so it's in a pretty high state of decay.
Gross.
But no, you don't find anything on him. He is dressed in rags.
Okay.
You
So,
do see that there used to be a doorway behind him, but it's filled with rubble at this point. It looks as if, and then there are claw marks on some of the rubble. It looks as if something just tore its way through the wall here too, possibly ripping out what used to be a door.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to rejoin my companions over here and say, that guy is super dead. But we need to be careful. There's clearly something here that can tear through stone like tissue paper.
This man is not dead.
Hey, you. Can you hear us?
He should be able to hear you, but there's actually no reaction to hearing your voice.
There's like bars or
It's essentially a window, a barred window set into the door.
okay.
You also see now that you look that behind him, there appears to be just a giant hole in the wall of the cell.
Okay.
Can I try and tear the door down?
Show you what the cell looks like. You can certainly try to beat the door down.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Give me an athletics check.
Oh wow.
You kick it mightily and hurt yourself.
Hey, I've got shadow over here. I go around.
So going down that hallway that you passed previously, you see that there's a branch of it that goes to the north. And then the other line of it seems to turn and go south, probably into the cell.
Yeah, I should have the
Lucio-
torch with me.
Yeah, you
Lucio
should be able to.
Roshi will-
You just drag the torch around. You should be able to click on it and move it.
I don't know where the torch. Okay.
There's one in the middle of the hole.
That should be with T-hole.
So Lucio Roshi will kind of curse to himself and say, Zarius, why are you splitting the group? And then realizing that Hellweir is capable of physically defending T-hole and T-hole mentally defending Hellweir, hopefully, will run over to meet Zarius. Next time, at least wait for one of us to come with you. We shouldn't be splitting off alone in this place.
I don't see you. Give me my torch. I can't see it.
I try and find like a weak spot with the door, and I want to try and like bash it again.
God.
All right, so we're going this way, Zarius.
I wish to
Ow.
speak to the man.
You hurt yourself again.
I hate this door. I'm leaving
Then-
it.
While you do that, you can see beyond in the gap in the wall in the back of the cell. You can see Zarius and Lucio Roshi walk in.
Oh, what the fuck?
You see, the elf is sitting cross-legged in the center of this circle of writing. He is extremely elderly. Elves don't tend to grow beards, and when they do, it's after they're 800 or 900 years old.
Kill that
this
old
one,
man.
this one has a pretty pronounced beard, so he is well beyond what the average end of life would be for an elf. His hair's long, gray, and completely uncombed and unkempt. His features are fairly distinct, and you may have seen him depicted on the stone carvings when you first entered the temple.
Okay. I don't want to enter all the way in just yet. I will call again to the man. Can you hear me?
He turns and looks at you. He has glossy blue eyes, and he smiles at you, but his expression is pretty vacant.
Mind has clearly been eaten away by the foul creatures. All right, here we go. I step in.
I'm
You
right
step in.
behind you.
I stepped right there.
I'll be right beside you.
And I'm still looking through the window, like, just kill him already.
When Lucio Roshi steps in, you see the old man turns and sees Salasri in your hand, and he seems to recognize it.
And Lucio Roshi will say, "Excuse me, sir. Are you hurt?"
You shouldn't be in here. You shouldn't have that. That belonged to my brother once.
Well, I rescued it from where it was previously. But we can speak of this later. Right now, we need to help you get out of here.
No, I was told to remain here.
You are here of your own volition.
Of course. Why would I not stay? The Master has great plans for us all.
How
And
long have you
who
been
is your
here?
master?
Oh, I have been here months or weeks. It's very hard to say. Every day I serve the Master and his great plan. You should go and see the Master and let him know that you are here. He can probably use you in his plan as well.
I'm sure he might. The blood on the floor, does it look fresh or
No,
like
it looks
been there for a
pretty.
long time?
It looks pretty old.
Could I get an idea as to how old?
Give me an investigation check.
Investigation or perhaps medicine?
You can do medicine.
I would prefer.
You would guess from looking at it that it's probably several layers of blood, and it's probably the newest of it is still probably several weeks old. The oldest is probably maybe 2 months.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna continue to speak with the man, but I'm gonna move over here to see if I can't open the door for our companions so that we're not split. Is there a way of opening the door from this side?
There is a lock on it, but there was no way to unlock it without a key on either side. You could try to pick it.
I'll pick it, and while I'm picking it, I'll kind of also attend to the conversation and say, what is it that your master wants? Yeah, I probably failed that. A 10 total.
Too distracted from talking, you are unable to pick the lock.
No.
I suppose we could just go around.
Yes, they must have got there somehow, and we just walk around. Yeah.
He wants what is best for all of us, for us to be happy and prosperous, of course.
I will warn Hellweir not to attack the man.
We will before we leave.
You actually, now that you're inside, Hellweir, you recognize him as Amras, the brother of Taladriel.
Thaladriel.
Yeah.
Okay. And Thaladriel was the guy who led the exiled group?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Amrath not is Amrath the sorcerer that was in the town of Alcator?
He was the mystic. He's not really a sorcerer. He's more of a priest.
Is it the same Amrath?
Yeah, he was the guy whose hut you were in.
Yeah.
On the
So
island.
is this him?
Yes, this is him. He was kidnapped about 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
What have you done to this land, old elf?
To the land?
You've defiled it.
No, it was other elves. Heresies were committed here, and it cursed the land and brought forth the swamps to reclaim this hated temple that I live in now. I don't know why the master makes me live here, but I'm sure it's part of his plan.
Who was your master?
My master is Karol Hul.
What is Karol?
He is the master.
Is he a flayer?
I don't know what that is. He is a being from the world below. He comes to bring us all joy and prosperity.
That sounds like a flayer.
Your people made this temple.
What was that?
Your people made this temple. Pretty much just making a statement.
Oh. Not my people. The heretics made this place. They're dead now. They deserve their death.
What is this blood that surrounds you? It looks disgusting.
Oh, I'm sure it's not blood. I don't know why the master decided to write these words, but he thought it was important. Probably it is to teach me a lesson, but I have not figured out what the meaning of it is yet.
Can we tell that there are words and runes written into it?
Yeah, you're sure it's clearly words that are written in Elvish. But it's only Hellweir can read it, I think.
I read it.
Uh,
I didn't know if there were actual symbols or writing in it. I thought it was just splatters.
On the map it is, but
Oh, okay.
it is words. In Elvish it says, "If my own one cannot return, no elf shall live," and it's written many, many times in consecutive circles around this guy.
do we have any reason to believe that he's being mentally controlled in some way?
Give me an insight check.
Bum bum bum.
Nope.
It seems fine.
I mean, this is general knowledge. He's obviously acting weird. You might surmise that something's affecting him. He's sitting half naked in a circle of blood, but he's not aware that it's blood.
Who is my own one, elf?
In a cell that he could walk out of because there's a giant hole in the back of it.
That's true.
My own one is Zaxab, the beloved of Carolhul.
What
And he
fate
is here.
befell the
So-
Zaxab?
It seems as though there was a combat or a fight, and somehow Salastri forced my niece to kill Zaxab.
Who is your niece?
Likely the one we found this mace with.
Zach said was probably the mind flayer that was in the process of eating her brain. So with that, I'm gonna try to I'm gonna cross over the threshold of the blood, and I'm gonna do so carefully to see how he reacts, or if there's anything that happens.
He doesn't react to your moving across the blood.
Okay. And then through my touch, I'm going to cast protection from evil and good on him
Okay.
and see if that has any impact on his demeanor or changes him in any way.
Give me another insight check.
All right.
Everyone can give me an insight check. Zarius and Blusharosi, you sense as you cast it that there's something about him is hopeful that this will work, but he then settles in again and his face just becomes blank and impassive.
Okay.
You should take Salastri to the master. He may know a way to nullify it permanently. It is clearly out of control and dangerous.
I suspect at those words, Salastri reacts very strongly.
Yeah, Salastri does not. Salastri doesn't seem to be fond of this guy to begin with. You get the sense that Salastri knows who he is and does not approve of him. But not to the point of wanting him dead. But yes, he doesn't react well to the notion of going to the master.
So I look to the group and say the magic that I just used should have negated any effects of mind control or possession, but it doesn't seem to have worked. Either he is here completely of his own will, or something much more powerful than my magic is holding him here in the belief that this is what he wants.
Or the creature has eaten away at his mind. It is no longer his to control.
Either way, I think that right now our efforts are best spent searching through this place, seeing if we can find Samus, and trying to rescue any others that might be more likely to be saved.
Alas, I think there's one more good deed we can do. I think we must put an end to his misery. It's sad to see a great mind go in such a way.
Solastri would be quite pleased.
Stay your hand for a moment. It is possible that this person is under some control. If we can deal with that, it may be that he can be freed.
Or it could be that he is turned against us. He is a powerful mystic has been on this earth for hundreds of years. I would hate to have one more thing to deal with should something arise.
I don't think that it is our place to be judge, jury, and executioner on the maybe that he will raise his hand against us.
Well, then ask Solastri.
Solastri has mixed feelings right now, but that doesn't matter. We must go and we must find those that we can save and hope that in our efforts we can break whatever spell might be holding him.
Yeah, Solastri would have been very shocked at hearing we should kill him because maybe he might possibly come after us later.
Yeah, that's why I was like mixed feelings because
you cannot like somebody and not want them murdered.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Hellweir.
We are wasting time. We should go.
Yes, if we do not kill him now, we will be back for him later.
You see, he stirs a bit at that and says, "Wait, don't leave me here." And then he stops and settles down again. "Oh, but the master said I should stay," and sits cross-legged again.
Should we take it?
Could you stay with me? Well, I can't leave because the master said I should stay. But if you would stay here, I'm sure the master will come soon enough. Every day he comes and visits me.
I think it would be best if we avoid the master for now. Let's go. If you wish to join us, you're welcome. But we must be going.
We should probably kill the master's puppet now that we know that he has some sort of impact here.
What do you mean by that?
He is being used, and most likely to see where we are. Mystics have that power.
I'm sure walking brains also have that power, since they seem to know where we were without any other reason.
So leave him there. He has been tasked with staying. Leave him.
So what do we see in this hallway ahead of us? That looks interesting.
So ahead of you, you see there's a lot of rubble along the one side of the wall where it appears as though there's been a collapse from the top. So this is all just rubble. You also see there is a growth of what appears to be a large amount of fungus, mostly red fungus, that's covering the walls of this hallway.
Ascertain the nature of this fungus? Perhaps?
Sure. I mean, it's black and red. And do you have like proficiency with an herbalism kit?
I have survival.
Or okay, roll me survival then. It's a fairly common swamp fungus that just seems to have taken root in here. It's probably harmless. If you got enough of it, maybe the spores would cause you a little trouble breathing, but it's nothing that should be terribly, terribly dangerous. It would be bad to eat.
Sure.
It would be poisonous to ingest it.
Do I have? No, I have Mason's tools. Why the hell did I pick Mason's tools? Whatever. Okay.
Well, that's good to know if there's anything about the stone. In
Yeah.
fact, maybe you would know, since you have Mason's tools, you would know that both this collapse here and the collapse in the hallway where you saw the body, there definitely were doors there at one point, but the weight of the ziggurat and it shifting on its axis caused these doorways to collapse in.
Okay. Alrighty.
Well, let's continue.
Where do we
So-
wish to proceed?
You also see there's another torn out section of wall here. And Hellweir, make me a perception check. Well, now everybody can.
I'll roll it again.
I think said now everybody can.
Gotcha.
Perception.
So you can see there's some movement inside this room.
This room right here.
Yep.
So I will hold up my finger and be like, quiet. And then I will I'll move up forward and take lead.
This room seems a little more rough hewn than the rest of the hallways outside it, and it reeks of salty water and what smells like almost like a wet dog and rotting vegetation. The air is especially damp and frigid, and there are 4 pairs of yellow glowing eyes that are staring at you in the dim light.
I cast Shield of Faith on you as you move forward.
One of them
thank you.
appears to be larger than the others. You see, they're all white-furred Quaggoth-like creatures, but the large one has the one in the middle, right in front of it, on its knees. They see you, but they don't initially react. The one on its knees snarls and looks like it's getting ready to attack, but the 2 on either side of it grab it and restrain it from moving towards you.
Wait, Lucirosi, I have this.
God damn it.
No, wait. They seem to be resisting.
Yes.
One of them wants to attack, but
Let me speak to
the
them.
others are holding it back.
And I try and push.
I feel like we have to push
here-
it back.
Who here is comfortable with Hellweir being the voice of the group?
Never.
I try to.
The large one steps forward in front of the others, dropping the stone axe that it had at its side, and it has its hands just up in the air, showing that it's trying to be non-threatening.
Okay.
It says something to the others, but it's in a language that I'm sure none of you speaks. Do any of you speak Undercommon?
I don't, but I have comprehend languages. So if I heard that, I would cast comprehend languages.
And while in as a show of good faith, I will also put Solasri away. And my oversized fist becomes a normal sized fist.
Are these Quaggoths not considered beasts, or?
No, they're humanoids.
Okay, gotcha.
So Lucirosi will kind of tilt his head to T-hole while keeping his attention on these things and ask, "Did you understand what they're saying?"
I thought I made out a few words. What did I understand what they're saying?
It's very crowded in here.
Yes.
I'll move up and make room for the others to come up as well.
You cast comprehend languages, but it was in response to the guy talking, so you didn't catch what he had said to the others. But as you come in very sort of broken, poor common, he says, "No fight, no danger."
And then T-hole like kind of puts his hands up and like does and like signals, and then I can't actually talk. Comprehend language is only understanding. It's not actually communicating back. So I would do like this, and I would point to me, and then I would point to you, to them, and I would like point to my head and then point to them. So it's like I understand you type deal. So then like I just like he just kind of puts his hands up, or Teal puts his hands up to his ear and is like waiting for them to say something. Maybe he'd like kind of motion them to like speak, say more.
So you motion him, and the larger of the Quaggoth, he doesn't seem to understand that he doesn't seem to understand the word understand, so he doesn't quite get that you would understand him speaking in his own language. But you do hear him say to the others, to restrain the one that's still on his knees, so that hopefully they can all survive this encounter. But he then looks back to you and says, You come to kill Master?
And T-Hold nods.
We not serve Master.
And he also nods.
We free Quaggothi.
And then T-Hold kind of like he nods, but then like kind of looks. He like furrows his brows, as in that he doesn't totally understand.
We free of Master's thoughts. Master damaged. Master hurt.
And then I point up. I like point up
Towards the ceiling?
towards the ceiling. Yeah.
He looks up.
So Lucirosi will turn to T-Hole and say, they seem to understand some common. Perhaps using simple words with your gestures would be more effective.
Master, where?
Master is in caves below.
How?
He is with elf prisoners.
How are you free?
Master, flee his people. Master, unnatural loves. Master, find elves on surface. His skull crushed, and he holds his hand up and just sort of motions towards his head. Master's, his voice weakens in Thonot's head, and he points to himself when he says Thonot. Thonot first Quaggothi to break control of Master. Thonot no slave no more. Thonot lead other Quaggothi to be free, but some still slave of Master.
Thonot hero.
So Lucirosi is going to turn to T-Hole and ask, what is he saying?
This young gentleman, or rather,
He's still speaking in broken common. He doesn't assume that you would understand. Yeah, he speaks fluent Underdark.
Yeah, so you would understand him then.
Okay. Are you leaving? Or are you fighting?
We try to free Quagotti. We Master may leave in time. Venge hatred of elves. After Master destroy elves, Master no need to stay. Quagotti live here. Here in stone building.
We should leave the master to do his thing then.
What do you mean? These Quagoth, if they're not purposely hunting elves anymore without the direction of this master, there's no reason to treat them as threats.
You not elves.
No.
Where are your other freed Quagothi? Where?
Many killed by master slaves. Some hide in swamps. We come back to get more Quagothi.
How to free other Quagothi?
Slaves must realize masters not kind to them. Slaves must break themselves free of slave, of the voice of master in their heads.
Did you kill any elves?
When we first come to surface world from night below, Thonot kill elves in first attack, but Thonot then become not slave and not kill more elves.
Thonath see dwarf?
Dwarf. The dwarf captured by drow in swamp, dragged here, his group taken below by master. Most become slaves. Dwarf resist master. Dwarf hurt. Master questions of dwarf. Dwarf hurt many times.
Female dwarf? Oh wait, what was her name?
Gruzza.
Not Gruzza.
Oh, the halfling?
Oh, the halfling.
Oh, Amphilis.
Amphilis. And you say halfling with dwarf?
3 halflings with dwarf. 2 died, killed when master angry. 1 made slave. 1 made smart slave. Sent back to help trick elves. Sent back because dwarf come. And the master not want more groups like dwarf to come.
Will Thonot fight master with us?
Master is strong. Thonot not fight master. Fight master, die. Master will leave in time. Free Quagothi can live here in peace then.
Thonot know where master. Thonot show us where master.
Thonot show where caves underneath are.
The Quagoth then turns to talk to the others and says, and begins to ask them whether or not they're willing to go below and fight. The one on the ground just sort of snarls and says, absolutely not. We must defend the master at all costs. And the other two shake their heads and say that that's suicide. And they are better off just hiding rather than committing suicide. But Thonot turns back and says, Quaigoti afraid, but Thonot show you how to get to caves below. You must move quickly through halls, though, as fear creep into head. New voices, not the master's voice, other voices cause great fear.
I'll Darius will point back towards the hallway where the old elf was, and what do you know of the old man?
He was among first of slaves. He resisted, long time resisted. But master, keep him alive special. Hope to use his gods to raise Zakzab from death.
See, I told you we should kill him.
No,
There's no purpose.
if we can deal with the master, that should be sufficient.
Old age will take the man soon
You
enough.
cannot trust that elf. He has been around for hundreds of years.
And he resisted the longest to the master, according to Thonot.
He does not
That-
look like he has much left, though.
I saw a glimmer of hope in his eyes as I cast my spell upon him. It quickly died, I assume overcome by the master's effects, but there's still a piece of him in there somewhere. I say that we go find the master, save Samus, and see if we can't end the tyranny of this creature.
I have seen weak elves, and that is one in that cage. And all of them which have been trapped by this master. They deserve to die.
Hellware, let me make it very clear. If you try to kill that elf, I will protect him. And you will need to go through me first.
No. I'm sure the master is laughing at us.
Yes, we are wasting time. The true threat is this master, not that aged elf. We need to be focused.
And Thonot turns to the others and says, I don't think they in his own language, so only T-Hole would understand him. Although T-Hole's running away, so maybe he doesn't hear. But he says, I don't think these creatures understand that Carahul is a mind flayer, or how insane he has become, that his emotional deviancy that caused him to be driven out has caused him to become mad after the death of Zakzab. These people probably will not survive their encounter with him, but we can hope. Perhaps they will be successful, and then we can clear this building out and create a new life for ourselves finally.
And just T-Hole says, we will survive.
He looks surprised that you understood him, and turns back to you and says, do you speak Undercommon?
No, but I understand.
It's got to be so confusing.
He still doesn't understand the word understand. But he got no, but I.
No, but I listen.
I hear it.
There are many, he's speaking completely in Undercommon now. There are many servants of the master below. Some of them you can avoid, but their patrols may be difficult to completely hide from. There's also the flooding. You'll have to at least go through a fair bit of water to get to the world below.
Swim?
Not necessarily. Your head can be above water. You could walk. Swimming is a little faster through the deeper waters, though.
Creatures in water?
In some places, mostly little fish. But as long as you're not bleeding, the little fish don't fight. There are lizard men, however, who tend to stick to the waters. The water below is much warmer than the waters up here. The waters up here are being affected by the swamp water. The waters below are heated by underground heat sources, vents in the rock that spew hot gas into the water.
What's upstairs?
Upstairs, there are carvings for the most part. It's mostly empty at this point, except for large stone reliefs of the elves that used to live here.
Appreciated.
There's no way he understands that.
You should tell your friends to move very quickly through the hallways following me, because the psychic energy being radiated by the stones in this place will overwhelm them with fear and cause them to panic and run. And once they start to run, they will quickly run into creatures that will kill them.
So I tell the group that they better hurry, otherwise this energy will cause them to panic and run into enemies against their will.
Then I will follow up with, it would be best if you stay close to me. I can offer some additional protection for this magic.
Ask if there is any place. Well, I guess I could do that. Is there a safe place that offers some relief from this psychic energy?
He says to T-Hole that the shorter sections of hallway tend to not be under the effect of these crystals, but the longer sections of hallway, the ones that run north-south, tend to have this psychic effect on people.
So the shorter hallways don't, but the north-south hallways do, the longer ones.
Yes.
So that I relay that back to Zarius and the group.
Do you mention anything about the crystals?
He didn't say crystals.
Okay.
He just said rocks.
Okay.
I mean, you do notice that, like, the crystals here, when you first came in, the crystals were flickering. The crystals in these other hallways don't appear to be flickering. They appear to have a steady light.
We should hurry. Time essence.
Donut doesn't understand essence. But he basically...
Time running out.
He suggests you follow him back the way you came.
So we'll do that.
Elvir, let us
peek-
move.
Yeah, so I peek around the corner to see if the elf's still there.
The elf is still there.
Yeah, I just continue moving then.
And he then comes down to the end of the hallway you were already at.
Uh-huh.
And winces when he sees the dead intellect devourers. And when he gets here, well, T-Hole's not with you. He will wait for T-Hole.
This thing is like really slow.
So when he gets to here, he says, when we take another step, the psychic powers will begin to affect us again. So here especially, we must move quickly. There is water at the end of the hallway as the building is tipping into the swamp. You won't have to swim, but you will have to walk through the water. Make as little noise as possible, as there are many thralls in the room beyond the door here. And he then steps out into the hallway.
Yeah, T-Hole is translating that in case that was undercommon.
Yeah, that was all undercommon. He is going to
Yeah.
speak undercommon now unless he has to talk to one of you, like when T-Hole dies. But he gets that far, at least one step in. Everybody has to make an intelligence save, including him. He made it.
All right, everyone gets a +3.
Poor T-Hole.
I'm gonna use my action point to re-roll that.
I have
Actually,
no
no, I'm sorry, T-Hole, you don't have to, because even though it's a natural 1, your crown completely protects you against this effect.
Does it?
This is kind of what Amras is the one who re-enchanted the crown, and he was enchanting it in part for effects like these.
Nice.
He
So he said-
runs up to the other side of the hallway, the side you haven't been to yet. There's clearly been a collapse of the roof in this section of the hallway, but there's a very small gap. He basically has to like squeeze through it, so he makes his acrobatics check and makes it around the corner. Anybody who's going to follow him also has to make this acrobatics check. The water is probably about 5 feet deep at the far end of the hallway.
Alrighty. I don't think
So-
I have a very good spell for this. Nope.
Hellware makes it through easily enough. The others, you are essentially stuck. So you'll have to make an acrobatics check to free yourselves.
I mean, it's a
The-
team
the-
right at the same time, and we got stuck.
The 7-foot Goliath is like, what the hell?
Lucirosi freed himself and got through.
It's saying my connection to the server has been interrupted.
Just
I'm
rejoin.
gonna try and
Yeah.
refresh.
I'm still stuck. I'm even
T-Hole
more
is
stuck.
also T-Hole is also stuck. So
No, you go first.
So Zarius, while you're
No, you.
stuck, make me another intelligence save.
God damn it! Hey, give me my torch back.
You're fine.
Yeah, I'm making my saves.
Now,
already.
earlier on my save, I rolled a 10. Did that do anything?
No, that was still fine. The effect is easy to beat, but you have to make the check a lot.
Okay. It's
God damn
loading for me. I can still at least do something. I think. I know I got a +4, so I'll roll that.
T-Hole did it.
No, it's not rolling.
Yeah, T-Hole got through.
yeah,
Kurt, if you just want to make my roll for me, because it's still loading for me.
Right. You actually got through previously, so I think you did. Maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken. Oh yeah, you did 15.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got through, so you don't actually have to make any more saves.
Okay.
The flooded hallway, you don't have to make saves.
Damn bum leg.
It's true. The limp is really costing you here. So make me another intelligence save.
God damn it.
Still fine. You can feel that the hallway is pressing into your mind, trying to make you panic,
Yeah.
which would be dangerous when you're stuck in the flooded end because you might start to drown.
Sure.
But
Is
you're
there?
still
Can I? I'm gonna cast. Can I cast True Strike?
No,
True
that
strike.
doesn't work on that. Somebody could help him.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Damn near every time my advantage roll's been fine.
So T-Hole's gonna help Zarius as much as T-Hole can.
God damn it. Son of a bitch.
Yo, so this really old man comes forward to help you, but
Seems
Old-
fitting. Zarius is pretty old himself.
old man strength apparently was not enough to free you.
You just have to pull harder.
So make me another intelligence save.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
fine. Listen, we could stop the intelligence saves. Clearly, I'm going to make those. I'm just going to die here.
You're stuck in
Because I can't.
The first character to die of old age.
Come on.
One more time.
Am I still getting help?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should have left him with the elf.
Yeah.
The blood.
The final thing, like T-Hole is able to pull him just a little bit, and he kind of slips through.
So you slip through with all of the struggling to get through. You are somewhat cut up and you've taken 1 point of damage, slashing damage.
Okay. Well, we were
But-
told not to bleed in this, yeah?
Yeah. And immediately, the Quaggoth, who apparently calls himself Thonot, says to T-Hole, "Push him back through the hole!"
Why?
The fish go crazy when there's blood in the water.
Lucirosi, can you heal him?
Yeah, I'll immediately use my lay on hands.
Yeah, I only need 1 point. I'd rather not use a fucking spell slot for that.
Yeah. I still cannot get into the thing.
Hmm.
It's really hating me tonight.
It's not giving me any trouble, so I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, nobody else.
Yeah, it's just
Come
here.
on, Mike. Yeah, come on, Mike. You know why. It's because it's you.
It's because it's me and technology hates me.
It's probably a good thing you didn't go into the IT business.
Yeah. And once again, my computer is thankfully my computer is was at full charge when I started, because apparently now, even though it's plugged in, it's not charging. Awesome.
Wow.
You see that the crystals are also embedded in the wall in this hallway, but they're dark. You also, as you push through, see in the light of the unkillable continual flame and the light of the crown that there are a lot of little fishes, little quippers floating around in this water, but they seem to not take any notice of you as you push past them. You get to the point of there's another tunnel that's been torn into the side of the rock. There are large claw marks in the rock itself, and he turns up that hallway. It gets pretty narrow to the point where even Thonot is squeezing through. The smaller of you, Thonot's about Hellweir size, though, so the smaller of you can make it through relatively easy. But he does have to sort of wind around to get through it.
Yeah. Where's the torch gone? I can't see shit, Captain.
I think put the torch in the wall.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Hey. My
I
torch.
nicked it. You take that torch. Do I have to do an acrobatics thing because the Quaggoth did?
No, that was only where there was the collapse. This isn't collapsed. It's torn open.
Cool.
Yeah.
He emerges into a wider room. As you approach, you see there are 5 stone sarcophagi that dominate it. 4 of them are open to the air. Their heavy stone seals are in pieces scattered around the room. The 5th looks to be intact. There's writing on its top stone, but it's weathered enough that you can barely read it. It might take some effort to figure out what it said if you care at all. Nonetheless, there's a dim light coming from across the room. Asmodiel you can basically see that there's an inscription in Elvish on the wall up here, and another body is laying in pieces on the floor. It looks as if the hand was torn off of the body of this elf and used almost like a brush to write the words in blood on the wall. There are 2 goblins that lay dead at the foot of the unopened sarcophagus. They look like they've been here quite a while, many years. One seems to have dropped a crowbar. The corpse along the northern wall is clearly that of an elf, though. It's probably a month old. There are arrows resting alongside it, but its eyes are completely gone. Both of its arms have been torn out of their sockets.
I'll take the crowbar.
Okay. There's a spiral staircase in the northeastern corner that seems to lead down into the darkness. Thonop points to it and says, "That is how you get into the caves below."
What does the writing say here?
It says, "5 ancient dead elves are nothing compared to my own one. He shall have millions."
5 ancient. And there's 5 sarcophaguses in here. Okay. Can we try to make out what the writing says on that thing?
You can give me a perception check.
I probably would have some interest in that, actually.
It says, I'll paste it into the chat, but it says, "Here lies Aglarior, faithful servant of the high priestess Lucenian and Glorian, killed defending our faith from the heathens of Alcator. He was the first of us to make Moraine laugh. May his soul join us on the great road."
Are there any bodies in these other sarcophagus?
There are remnants of like bones, but they've clearly decayed away with age.
Sure. They're open?
Yeah, they're all open except for this one.
I'll just what's his name again? Thonot. Do we need to go down the stairs?
Yes, if you want to get to the caves below. The master can be anywhere downstairs. I don't know specifically where he would be, but if he is torturing the last of the elves, he would either be in his sanctuary, which is to the it's very hard to find his private sanctuary. He may also be in the old temple of these elves.
Helwyr looks at Zarius and says, "There may be something of worth on this corpse." And I start to attempt to open the sarcophagus.
It's an athletics check. So, yeah, it's pretty easy for you to. The goblins had no luck, but it's pretty easy for you to tear the lid off of this. Immediately when you do it, though, there's a burst of blue and green gas that comes out of it. Give me a Constitution save, everybody who's within 5 feet of it. So Zarius and Helwyr.
No, I moved.
I finally get control. Where are you guys at?
Triggered a draft, you know.
Look at all these crits.
So the real question is, where was
So there's some coughing, but you manage to not inhale these these spores that have been lifted up. You see inside there is the mummified remains of an elf in now fairly rotted, but what was once very fancy robes. On its hand, though, you do see there is a glowing, completely undamaged gauntlet with an amber gem set into the back of the hand. That's clearly magical.
I will rush upon his space
Ooh.
before you don't even get a chance to do anything.
Ooh. Ooh, what a useful object. Maybe we should take it.
And I'll grab Zelweir or Hellweir, sorry, by the scruff of his collar.
Does he have a collar?
I don't know what he's wearing actually.
So you're basically like, hey, Hellweir.
Get over here, you big bug.
I mean, how tall is he?
7.5 feet.
7.5. Let's see how tall am I
That's
again?
the top of your head, so he only has to get up like 6 feet.
I'm 6'9", so I mean,
Oh, okay.
you ain't much taller than me.
Yeah, very tall old man.
Yeah,
Don't you like have a hunchback?
no,
Oh, okay.
nope, just a bum leg. I still, yeah, it's basically I described it as just because he has a bum leg, but because he's so big, his gait is just really long, so he could still keep up with you at the normal pace. But he would definitely approach you and grab you and say, next time you get the bright idea to open up a sarcophagus, don't. Next time, I will make sure you pay. You avoided damage this time. It will not happen again.
Well, then I shall pay in magical items, and I point down at the gauntlet.
I grab it.
So you grab it, which causes another layer of spores to get thrown up into the air.
Yeah, I don't even care.
So both of you can make another Constitution save.
Look at these rolls.
So once again, you're able to avoid inhaling the spores. So did you take it off the hand of the elf or just grabbed it?
I probably would have just grabbed it, but taken the hand out and placed it back inside gently.
Okay.
Not going to separate the body. It's disrespectful.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if you were grabbing it so that he couldn't grab it or you were grabbing it to take it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that was definitely what was happening.
Okay.
Oh wow!
But I'm
this
not-
is actually this gauntlet's your jam. Look at this. It's like Speak with Dead for free.
Reminds me of were you watching Torchwood when you made this item?
No, I've only seen a couple episodes of Torchwood.
I think it was like the first 2 episodes. They use a thing just like this.
Oh yeah.
A gauntlet that lets you reanimate the dead shortly to talk to them. Yeah.
Isn't it also a thing in that show Pushing Daisies?
I have no idea.
That show I've never seen.
Yeah. Neither have I. I just know a bit.
I've seen.
All right. So, are you all sufficiently finished with looting the corpses that we might continue on with our main objective?
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's
Hellweir
go.
seems quite proud of himself, and he says, "Yeah, as well."
Thonot says to T-Hole, "Are you sure you want to do this? The master is injured, his head, his mind weaker than it was, but he is still powerful and dangerous. He can still overwhelm the minds of most, especially if he knows you're coming, and I'm sure he does. He may not care. He may care more about his vengeance against the elves, since there are no elves among you. But he may set his servants to stop you from reaching him."
He says, "Are we sure that we want to go down there?"
We
Come this far.
really have no choice. Our patron, Loki, is that what we call her
Yes.
for short?
Yep.
Loki, sent us to find Samus. We require him in order to fulfill our contract with her. Samus is down there. We have to go.
Will you agree to leave the non-thrall Quaggothi in peace after you slay the master?
Of course.
Then I will help you. I will come to show you the secret ways through the caves.
Lead the way. We will follow close.
So he steps up and begins to walk down the stairwell. And that's a fair place to end it.
Cool.
May Osiris guide us.
By Odin's beard.
I think this is the first session where I have largely used none of my abilities. Every session before, I'm always like drained out.
You mean that one hit point from your lay on hands didn't drain you?
Well, I mean, normally I by this point in the game, I have maybe one first level spell slot, and maybe my channel divinity.
Mm.
So
So at least you don't need to find a place to long rest.
Yeah.
yeah,
No, the sarcophagus would have been great to sleep in.
There you go. Just pull the lids back over you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That was fun.
Yeah.
The
Is there an
story
easy
was
way to add this this gauntlets thing to my inventory?
Yeah, you can.
Like, is there an easy way to do it?
Oh, I think you just have to cut and paste.
Hmm.
That's what it does.
Okay.
At least if there is a way, I don't know it.
just maybe
Actually,
one-
I don't think the handouts are designed for that anyway. I just find it easier than pasting it into chat so that you can find these things again.
the